Good morning, grade 7. How are you today, miss? Today we will start with the second lesson of this chapter, solving equation by one step. So we say one-step equations. That we are actually talking about solving the equations in only one step. Okay? Now, before we start talking about the steps and the lesson itself, let's remember together the meaning of equation. To solve an equation, they say that you need to ask 3 questions about the equation. Now, first of all, we should know that the equation is actually a balance. Okay, it's a situation in which the right side equals to the left side, and the right side of the equal sign, of course, equals the left side of the equal sign. So I should put in my mind that whatever you do to this side, you have to do it to the other side to keep this balance exist, exactly like the scale balance. Okay, to keep the scale, the scale balance, actually, whatever you do to the other side, you have to do it to one side, you have to do it to the other side. Okay, now if you add, for example, 3 apples to one of the scale balance side, you have to add the same amount of apples, 3 apples to the left, so that you will keep the balance, the scale balanced. And the balance exists. Okay, now to solve one-step equations, you need to ask 3 questions about the equation. First of all, what's the variable? We said before that the variable is a letter. It actually has a value, but we don't know its value yet. To find it out, we have to solve the equation. So if you solve the equation, you will find out the value of this variable. So variable in my equation will be letter. Okay, now what operation, then I have to ask myself, what operation is performed on the variable? Now we know that the 4 operations we know are what? Addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division. So what tells you what's the operation is actually applied or performed on this variable is actually you can find it out from the sign of the operation which is before the variable, before the letter. If it's a plus, it means that we are adding this variable. If it's negative, the negative sign before the variable, so it's subtracted, it's actually subtraction the variable. If it's multiplied, so we actually multiply this, and divided, we actually, if you find it in the denominator, the variable, so actually it's divided by this variable. Now then you have to ask yourself, what's the inverse operation? Now actually the inverse operation is the operation that will undo what is being done to the variable. It means that if your variable, actually the sign before it is a plus, so actually your variable is added, actually the operation that makes your variable unadded, okay, or not added is subtraction, right? To subtract it. So the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. Okay, now as you can see here, the inverse operation of subtraction is addition, the inverse operation of multiplication is division, the inverse operation of division is multiplication. Okay, now let's actually solve one of the examples to find out the to know how to, what does it mean to solve an equation. Now let's solve x plus 4 equals 12. Okay, first, as I said, I have to ask myself the 3 questions. Question number 1, what's the variable? Of course here it's x, the only letter in this equation is x, so it's x. Now what do you think the operation is being performed on the variable? Now, when there is no sign before the x, what do you think, miss? It's what? It's added or it's subtracted? since there is no minus, so of course it's added. So actually it's addition. What's the inverse operation? As we mentioned in the slide before this, the inverse operation of addition, it's always subtraction. Okay, always. So actually it's subtraction. So what I will do, I will subtract x from, yes, from both sides of the equation. Why from both sides? Because it's a balance. The equation actually, it's a kind of balance between left side and right side. To keep this balance, to keep this scale balanced and exist, whatever you do here, you do here. If you subtract, so actually, subtract x from this, 4 from this side, so you have to subtract 12 from the 4 from 12 in the other side. Okay. So you can notice that now plus 4 minus 4 is actually like undo the addition of 4, which is 0. Okay, now 12 minus 4 equals 8. Did we solve? Yes, actually this is the solution. You can check all answers. How? Okay, just you have to write the original problem, then you have to plug in your answer. It means that you have to substitute it and find out, is the right side equals to the left side? Is, if you add 8 plus 4 here in the left side, it equals to 12. Now, is 12 here equal to the right side, which is 12? Yes, actually, it's the same. So we can say that my solution is correct. Yeah, let's come on. If we want to try to solve this, I will give you minutes to try to solve it alone and give me answers. Okay, then let's do now here again. What's the variable? It's m. It's what the variable actually is added. So I will undo addition. I will subtract. Okay. So actually, if I want to solve, I have to keep m in one side only, and all of other things in the other side. I have to get rid out of 9. I want m to stay in one side, to say that m equals a number. When you say m equals this number, so actually you find out the value of m, which is the variable. So you solve the equation. Okay? So m equals -6. Then I have to check, is -6 plus 9 equals 3? Now -6 plus 9 is 3 actually, and the other side is 3. Okay, so both of them are correct. Now I want you to look at the solution here and try to check your answer if it's correct or not. Now what about this here? I want, as I said, to actually you can notice here that y is the variable. I want to keep y alone at one of the sides, which is here in this side. So I want to undo the subtraction of 7. So what shall I do? I will use the inverse operation, which is adding or plus 7. So it will be -7 plus 7, and whatever you do here, you will do to the other side. Okay? As you can see here, we solve the same. We add 7 to both sides. So y equals to -13 plus 7 equals to -6. So this is the answer. I can check my solution by substituting or plug in, -6 in both sides, instead of the variable, and see if the both sides are correct, so my equation is true. Okay, now here we are talking about subtracting. Here what you will do is the inverse operation of subtracting is addition. Yes, and we can check. So my solution is correct. And try to answer this before I give you the answers, please. Now here I want to, two operation is actually is done here is that I subtract 18 from n, so I add, actually the inverse operation is adding, so I add 18 and the answer is n equals 20. Then I check, yes, by substitute or plug in 20 instead of n and find the answer which is correct. Okay, and both actually we can check the answer and would give me a true sentence, so actually it's correct. Now if I have one step equation but with multiplication, okay, I say the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So if negative 6 is multiplied by a and I want to to make the inverse operation and to keep a alone here, so what shall I do? I actually divide, because here you will ask yourself again, what's the variable? What's the operation is actually performed on the variable? It's multiply or it's multiplication. Okay, the inverse operation of multiplication is division, so what you will do, you will divide it by 6, negative 6, and divide by negative 6 again. So you can notice the answer is negative 2. Then you can check your answer in the equation by plugging the value of a negative 2 in the equation and find out the solution. Okay, now I want you to try to solve this. Come on, I will give you minutes. Please solve it. Here you have to divide by 3 and here's the same. And then you can multiply 3 times negative 6, negative 18, which is correct. Now here, divided by negative 4, okay? Since negative divided by negative is positive, I want to keep n positive alone in one side. Okay. Yes. Here, again, we check the answer. And we find out, what about if my equation includes division? Okay. Yes, thank you for